We have two great speakers tonight. We're a nonprofit, so we appreciate any help and support by your membership and donations that you're willing to do for us. And in return, we bring great speakers to you, some incredible people we've had over the years and incredible speakers we have tonight, so we hope you'll enjoy. We usually start off the meeting with an open forum. So we have technical directors, experts here to answer your questions. Anybody have any questions along the lines of their health? So,
We'll make one up.
okay. Yeah. Go ahead and speak loud.
Does anyone have any comments on a titanium implant versus a zirconium implant?
Where's Dr. Hong? Yeah, I want to put her on the spot.
You just went to the bathroom.
Is that with the joint or
Did
with
she?
the two? You're talking about a joint, the hip?
Two.
Oh, two.
Okay, zirconium is much more violent.
Did you hear that?
No.
But more biocompatible.
Zirconium is the preferred
Yeah.
choice now. It's much more biocompatible than titanium. It's also more expensive.
What's wrong with the titanium?
That you'll have to ask Dr. Hunter.
It's less biocompatible.
I don't know about toxicity or problems with titanium as far as the metal in the body goes. It might be the amount. I don't know.
On Sunday, I went for a 7-hour talk in Calistoga on cancer and diet. And they think, cancer is caused by your diet, and you could keep from getting cancer by eating the right foods and not eating the wrong food. What causes the cancer? And how do you keep from getting it?
There you go. That's a nice simple question to start off. You know, yeah.
It's not just diet, it's emotional. It's oxidative stress, it's inflammation. The mind has a lot to do in the stress and all that. So I've seen people with a great diet and still have cancer because they live under stress all the time. And they're, financial stress, business stress. So you have to, it's a very complicated thing, right, Javi? You just can't say one thing, it's, many other factors. And, diet is important, but what, is a vegetarian diet good for you? No. You need some fat and protein too.
Your talk was no fat or complete vegetarian diet, so you have to talk to her about it.
I think,
So that's interesting, huh? There's a difference of opinion of what your diet should be to stay healthy.
There's huge amounts of disagreement about that. Yeah.
Huh?
There's
Yeah.
huge amounts of disagreement about that. It hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
The disagreement about that has not stopped. There's a
Oh,
lot.
is that right? Okay.
I think there's many
I'm
ways
a
to get.
vegetarian and myself.
I think there's many ways to get to the end result. My mentor is Raymond Francis, and he says
Oh, wow.
that there's only one disease: cells malfunctioning. We're all made up of 50 to 100 trillion cells. So get those cells to work right. Cancer is the epitome of cells malfunctioning. So how do you get the cells to function at peak levels and shift it? I think we're going to hear some great ideas from Avi tonight on, the ways to test, the ways to measure health. So, and using different disciplines to assess and find out how to optimize our health. Great question.
So I've been just trying out a vitamin K2 supplement, Doctor's Best, I think. I've been experiencing some kind of brain fog and fatigue. I don't know if you guys have any insight on this.
Which person?
Doctor's Best, I think.
Yeah,
Vitamin K.
Which one?
Vitamin K2?
Oh, K2, Vitamin K2, there's Vitamin K7.
Yeah, which one?
And I kind of prefer Vitamin K7 because it stays in the bloodstream longer, and you don't have to take as much, like 200 or 300 micrograms. 80 is shown in the literature to be therapeutic, and taking that is even brain fog.
He developed brain fog on K2.
Well, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, is there any other variables that you've introduced since taking your K2?
I make a smoothie with a fast and everything.
It's the smoothie.
I eliminated just that and then different.
You eliminated the smoothie from your diet?
No, just the K2.
You took the K2 out, and you just brain fog went away?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's my day. I was just.
What are the excipients in the, what were the
Exactly.
excipients?
It's MK7, I think.
No, the excipients, whatever additive compounds were in there to make it work.
Yeah.
Get it in the capsule, in the soft gel.
Nothing that I haven't had before that has had the same effect.
You know what you can do? Try K2 from Thorne Research. It's just plain liquid. Matter of fact, that's Ray P's favorite. He says K2 from Thorne is his only one that he uses. Because it's a liquid form and it's basically MCT oil.
He's a thorn?
Thorne Research, yeah, Thorne.
The
Try
K-
that. K2 from there.
K-H-O-R-N-E.
Yeah.
The K2 only lasts for 2 hours in the
Yeah.
bloodstream. K7 lasts almost up to
24 hours.
48 hours. And there was a study done in Norway that K7 took the calcium off the aortic valve. So it's very healthy to have this one the K7.
Yeah.
You don't want, as he said, you don't want the K2.
And
Doesn't last as long.
Biotics Research has one for 500 micrograms for $21 retail. He uses Biotic Research, so he's now probably has the best one I've seen out there.
There's also.
K7?
It's K7, and it's 500 micrograms, which is beyond the therapeutic dose, so you don't have to take it every day.
There's also some research to indicate that K and A and D all work on the same receptor site.
Yeah.
So that a combination of K, A, D, and E of all the fat solubles together could be more effective in the body. Because remember, there's one thing we have to understand is the body, naturally we evolved not on supplements. We evolved on foods. And the foods have combinations of compounds in them. And the body differentiates them somehow in some sort of biochemical process, in a metabolic process. So the concept of jamming the body with one high dose of a particular nutrient can work because from the orthomolecular model, it's been very effective. But in nature, we have to remember is that substances are combinations.
Sure.
So,
Steve, go ahead.
I'd also add that many of the supplements produce either an acidifying or alkalizing effect through their influence on metabolism. And if you take something that's acidifying before you go to bed at night, it will disrupt your sleep. And if you take something that's alkalizing first thing in the morning, it may disrupt your day. So you might want to just try taking K before you go to bed at night and see if you wake up feeling great.
Okay. And the other thing is that Western Price, Western Price, when they did the work on the butter, that they recommend this organic raw butter, and that there's some sort of miracle compound in there. They isolated that to K2.
Yep.
That actually may be what they were talking about. So it was the K. And
Can she answer the question?
Yeah, I was gonna
about
go back to
zirconium?
her, yeah. So we had a question, Dr. Hung, if we could put you on, the spot here about titanium or zirconium implants. What do you recommend and what's,
Zirconium.
yeah, and,
Why? Well, you always have study shows that the titanium implant creates biofilm.
okay?
Creates what? Biofilm. And it also acts as antenna for, this galvanism, the metals.
We're without a mic, so speak up so everybody can hear.
Having a metal in your body, in your mouth.
Where's the microphone?
We're
It's
still
not
working
working
on
today.
it.
Well, can she stand
What
up?
about the second level there?
It's the PA.
Can she
Yeah.
stand up?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Dr. Hung, if you
Sure.
can stand.
there's a metal, there's a galvanism between the titanium metal, and if you have any other metal in your mouth, it creates electricity, and that will interfere with your own biological, electrical rhythm also. So I would definitely recommend zirconium over titanium implants.
Robert Joseph is shy to speak, but
Well,
let him speak.
there's porcelain implants that are being developed in Europe that seem to be succeeding fairly well and are going to be able to be approved for the United States in 3 years, from what I understand. There's no metal in those, they're porcelain.
Right.
And it's ceramics. so-
Ceramics, okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Does anybody know about Nerf 2?
Nerf 2?
Nerf 2.
Yep, it's an oxidative stress marker too. The Camden cells of body which identifies nerve 2, right? And it's one of those inflammatory oxidative stress markers. You want to talk a little bit about that one? Yeah, so we'll answer that later.
Actually, Nerf 2 is the one of the gene stimulators that stimulate antioxidant activity in the body, and that in conditions of low Nerf 2, you're going to have chronic illness. So, but I'm just wondering if besides the compound that is a multi-level compound, if anybody has any other ideas about Nerf 2.
You said you had some things to talk about during your lecture, Ali?
It's immunomodulatory. Not just, it can inhibit overstimulation and it can stimulate understimulation. So it's a modulatory protein. It's part of the good things that we want to have from it.
I don't know, has there been discussion of Sinatra's recent book on earthing?
Yeah.
Let's go outside and
Walk on the ground and
walk
bare
on the
feet.
ground.
Okay, yep, we've got sound there.
The other speaker we had the last month spoke about it. Basically, what athletes did at UCLA in the 70s and 80s, I was down there, they run on the grass barefoot. And what you're doing is you're picking up negative ions. And when you go to sleep, thousands of years ago, you sleep on the ground, you actually sleep on the negative ion with your back on the ground and the cosmic radiation focusing on your face, and that's how you regenerate your body, and that's what the whole thing of earthing really is. It's getting back to nature.
But it was also used by the Germans in the beginning of naturopathy in the 1800s, and sunning also.
Yeah.
So it's nothing new.
Getting that early morning sun.
Okay.
Klinghardt basically, the issue that we have right now is that we're exposed to all sorts of electromagnetic stress. And one of the reasons why earthing is an important element is because we wear shoes that basically are mostly insulated at the bottom. So we have a disconnect between ourselves and the earth. And there are various mats that you can buy, mattresses that are actually grounded, where you actually run a ground to the earth. So when you're sleeping, you're actually in a grounded environment. And Klinghardt recommends that very strongly with working with his people with chronic illness, is to shield themselves from the electromagnetic stimuli. And there are ways that you can lower your electromagnetic stress. One way is to measure what we call body voltage, which is what the Germans do. Is that what you do is you lie in your bed and you see how much free voltage is running through your system by hooking yourself up to a voltmeter and grounding the other side of the voltmeter. And then what you do is you go to your box, your circuit panel, and you start switching off circuits. And you watch what happens in the voltmeter. And then the particular combination of circuits brings it down to a normal level, to zero, of what the stray voltages that are running through your body that are what we call floating voltages. And then what you do is then the way it's done is you put into the box like a garage opener, like a one of those clickers that turn the garage on. But you wire it into the circuit panel in such a way that at night you click it and it shuts those circuits off. And then when you have to go up to the bathroom, you click it to turn those circuits on, right? So you have control over the circuit panel. But what that does is it lowers the stray voltage that's running through your system, that's floating in your system from all the circuits that are running in your house. And that's a very good technique that's done in the bibliotech science in Germany. Years ago, I ran a company that inspected houses for environmental toxics and electromagnetics. And one of the things that we did was to test the body voltage of a person lying down in their bed to see what it was at night. And that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to have one of these earth tethers, like these, earth mattresses where you are grounded where you are actually grounded to the ground. So that's a viable option. But you sleep better. You feel much more relaxed. Yeah, but it's very, very helpful.
Hold on, Adrian.
It's not just about, well, first of all, that's called a kill switch, is what you're talking about, where you can kill the energy, the circuits in your house, and there are people who can set them up for you pretty easily. Second thing is wear leather-soled shoes, and then you're picking up the negative ions from the earth when you're walking. It's our plastic-soled shoes that are causing the problem there, because you can even get negative ions from concrete. You don't have to be on the grass. And there was something else I was going to say in relationship to, you're not just sleeping better, and well, you are sleeping better, and the reason is your brain doesn't rest when it's getting impulses from electromagnetic frequencies all around you, whether it be your Wi-Fi or your cell phone or your cordless phone, which acts like a cell phone tower in your house. And so the brain doesn't get to rest. When the brain doesn't get to rest, the glyphatic system of the brain doesn't work, so it doesn't clean itself at night. On my website, there's a little YouTube from University of Rochester Medical Center where they were studying amyloid plaques in the brain and discovered that when you didn't go into deep sleep, those amyloid plaques were not washed out by the quote-unquote new system that they discovered, which was the glyphatic system, which is basically the cerebral spinal fluid that floods the brain at night when the glial cells shrink, and then it exits the brain carrying all the metabolic debris of the day. And if you don't sleep well, you don't get that cleansing, ergo the amyloid plaques build up. But they were just studying the amyloid plaque. There's more to the cleansing of the brain through deep sleep than amyloid plaque. That's all they were looking at.
Real quick, too, just the devices that you can also minimize the EMF.
Yeah, I use green wave filters to minimize the dirty electricity in the room caused by the circuits of the electrical outlets in your room and the wiring. But that really is not sufficient. If you're in an apartment, you could be sleeping on top of lighting from the apartment below you. You can be on the other side of a wall of a television, or even worse, a refrigerator. And then your body tries to go into resonance with the refrigerator while it sleeps. Positioning of the bed is very key.
Hold on. We have one more time for one more comment from Adria, real quick.
You can also get EMF blankets, whereby they're lined with silver. You have to have one underneath you, especially if you're in an apartment or if you have electricity running underneath you, or else it reverberates. It's not an easy thing to figure out, and you shouldn't be doing it yourself, because you can actually cause the electricity to start going back and forth, reverberating in your room, and you're going to be worse off. So there are many ways of handling the issue. You just have to know what you're doing and understand how these EMFs work.
If you have any questions, talk to Elise at the break.
She's amazing, isn't she? I just wanted to say, when you were talking about the earthing beds, I was on an earthing bed at 2 Bunch Palms, and in 2 minutes I got a splitting headache. I got off, and 2 minutes later the headache was gone. So it's just like with magnets. We have to be so incredibly careful of what they promise from technology.
Okay, thank everybody for their questions and comments. Bernd Friedlander will introduce our first speaker, our main speaker tonight.
Okay, thanks. Also, by the way, if you know Kathy Hickox, she was here one day with Dr. Deborah Davis. Look up RayGuard, very interesting technology from Switzerland. I really recommend that. It's amazing, and especially if you have a smart meter in your home. It's amazing. It's RayGuard. I think it's RayGuard, something like that. RayGuard. R-A-Y. RayGuard, just like guard. It's a Swiss company, and there's a fellow who owns Vitamin Express. He was seriously ill. I mean, to the point he was not functioning anymore, and he was electrically bombarded, and that saved his life. He owns Vitamin Express in the city. If you ever go there, you know Mike? Are you familiar with him? Talk to him. He's an expert in this field. You know, and Kathy Hickox is a brilliant woman like Elsie here, Elise. They are really brilliant in this area. Also, just to make a comment, there's a study going on where we're going to be participating very shortly. There's a peptide from colostrum that has shown to actually dissolve plaques in the brain. And University of Texas is doing the studies, and it is run by an organization, and it's shown that it actually can repair some of the cognitive damage that occurs from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, other things. And we'll be able to have that available very shortly. It's patented by a company, and it's owned by a pharmaceutical university. And another thing, Elizabeth Mazzio is going to be starting a second trial on cancer. And we're going to have a very strong feedback on all the medicinal plants out there that have anti-tumor, anti-proliferation mechanisms. And she is now, Pfizer has come in. There's many top-notch scientists who are leaving their positions from Pfizer and other companies like that to become part of this organization with Elizabeth Mazzio. And we're doing a study next week on CBD. A friend of mine who's a medical physician has 3 members of his family who had advanced stages of tumor, and he provided them a unique form of CBD, which comes from the hemp flower stem and the seed and the whole property. Within 6 to 8 weeks, all 3 members are in remission with cancer. And I just found out from Robert last week about what happened, because CBD is very exciting, and there's about 10,000, 20,000 papers published on it. The pharmaceutical industry suppressed it in 1970 when there was research on that.
And it doesn't have THC in it.
No, it doesn't have low levels of TCH, yeah, so you don't get a high. And that's exciting. And the other thing we were talking about, Dr. Rosenberg also, and Elizabeth Mazzio are doing studies on LD inhibitors, lactic acid inhibitors, which is a major factor in cancer, and they're going to be showing which compounds are actually inhibiting these lactic acids. And there's a Chinese gala nut material. Familiar with Chinese gala nut? It's very well known, and that has one of the most powerful, but they're going to do a toxicity study to see what the toxicity levels are. Okay, I want to introduce Avi Hertzkowitz, MD, and I met Avi about over a year ago, at the New Living a Whole Life Expo in San Francisco, and then suddenly I met him again through Susan Lin, who's an MD, and was working with Avi on stem cells, and I was excited about that because I always have people ask me about stem cells. And so I've been sending my daughter over there and coming with her, and we've been doing a treatment for her with IV ozone and UV light and glutathione and et cetera, and it's amazing what results are. And getting a chance to visit all your patients there and talking to them is also exciting to hear what they're doing, all the things that they've done themselves.